So the WEF and Soros agenda is very simple. It is to collapse nation states through unrestricted migration. And once they have collapsed, to seize them. And the plan to seize them is 2 steps. The implementation of digital IDs, where they track everything you do digitally, and a complete surveillance state. And the second part is to get central bank digital currencies, so they have complete control over the money. And they can just have AI review your digital behavior and, take money from you. And they can also control your movement through that. If you're putting your card to get a payment to get onto a bus or a train, they can decline it because they will have all that controlled in just those 2 steps. And you might say, well, this is ridiculous and outlandish. Well, it's not. It's already happened in China. They just want to spread communism across Europe. And with communism comes poverty, oppression, and basically ruin for people's lives, as the masses are ruled by just a few people for the interests of just a few people. That's communism. And obviously they try to get us to buy into it by saying that they're going to give them power over all these things in order to keep you safe and protected. That's obviously the lie that pervades communism and gets people to buy in initially. But once people buy into it, it's very hard to get out of it. But it isn't even just unrestricted migration to make nations collapse. They're eating away at the legal structures, corrupting the political, academic, and education structures, everything they can to create disorder and chaos, so that ultimately the masses will accept those 2 things, digital IDs and central bank digital currency. And when that happens, it'll be a communist Europe, just like a communist China. And if you look throughout history, communism has always wanted to rise in some form or another with the rule over the masses by the few, for the benefits of the few, and impoverishing the masses. Now the good news is we can fight this. If you think about it, most constitutions in Western democracies are anti-tyrannical constitutions. They've put everything in play there to prevent tyranny of the few over the masses. So protect the Constitution, because they want to eat away at that. There's many other things we can do to fight this, but I'll just give you 2. Protect free speech at all costs, because as communism rises, free speech absolutely must be oppressed, because what the communist state is saying that it is nothing remotely like what it actually is. So they must oppress free speech, and they must oppress the free press. But in the modern context, it just means they buy the free press. Communism has evolved to a different state now with levels of technology and different things, and it looks somewhat different now. But that's one. So no matter what, protect free speech. It's a difficult thing. It can be a damaging thing, but it is definitely one of our first lines of defense against tyranny. So don't let anybody convince you to let go of free speech, because that is its purpose. That's why it's enshrined in many constitutions, to protect us from tyranny. As I said, because communist states are generally the opposite of whatever they pretend to be. The WEF, all its promises, everything the WEF touches burns, and all of its promises, just rising poverty and is what's actually happening, and oppression and so on. And the other thing is, under no circumstances accept political prisoners by the state. Don't let it happen. Even if you totally disagree with the person and what they said, even if you think it's right, do not allow political prisoners in any state, because that is a major weapon of communism as well. So those are 2 things we can do. And there's many other things we can do as well. But it's coming, it's rising, it's becoming more and more prevalent. And they just want to create enough confusion, lack of identity, disunity, lawlessness, trouble, poverty, They want to create enough of this so that when they say they have the answer, digital IDs and central bank digital currencies, this will save everything, which is the standard lie for communism. All that is just control over your lives. That's all that it is. It's them controlling your life. It's not a good thing. They want to get the nations desperate enough to accept it. So we need to fight now, because we don't need to see communism take over Europe. And there are not that many Western democracies, developed world states, and they're under attack. So protect them, fight, rise, unite, be aware, understand what's happening, and understand the things that we must do to protect what really is, Western civilization is without a doubt the best civilization that's ever existed. No question. I think the fact that it can criticize itself so much is a sign of how wonderful it is. It needs a lot of upgrades. It needs a lot of things to be developed in it. Like, as I say, democracy is great, but with democracy without a Doge is a disaster. It needs accountability, transparency. These are anti-communist, anti-tyranny, accountability, transparency. Obviously, as governments lean away from those and do everything they can to avoid those, you're heading towards communism. Leaders that don't have moral and intellectual courage. So there's many things we can do to protect Europe, to protect our children, to protect the best civilization that has ever existed by far. And then let's bring this civilization to the next level. There's so much we can do now to upgrade it. So many different things that I might talk about later.